Hello and welcome to the Cozy Mystery Book Club. This is the January interview with our featured author of the month, Bonnie Hardy. Thank you so much for being here, Bonnie.
It's my pleasure.
So, Bonnie's book this month is A Doula to Die For. You can get that by going to cozymysterybookclub.com. And let's get into some interview questions. So, can you tell the readers a little bit about who you are and what they can expect in your books?
I'm a retired professional. I write contemporary cozies, and you can expect character development, quirky whodunits, and plot pieces that are inspired and taken from the headlines.
I love that. What about your settings? I feel like that also plays a part.
They do. They're kind of characters unto themselves. Um, Lily Rock is taken after Ottawa, California, a town that I've had a second home in for over 2 decades.
Wow.
And then Palm Desert, where Rex and Viv live, is 45 minutes down a very windy hill. And it's right next door to Palm Springs, which is well known in the Hollywood community for golfers and film festivals, and has some historic roots in the 50s, especially with Frank Sinatra and his group. So,
Awesome. And that is Rex and Viv are the characters in A Doula to Die For.
right. And they interact a little with some of the characters from Lily Rock. So,
Oh, I love that. Crossover is always fun.
uh-huh.
We kind of already talked about this with talking about headlines, right? And them kind of
Yes.
bringing into your book. So, are there any like particular headlines that you can share that ended up in your books?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in doula, which ended up to be even more relevant this past year than I ever imagined. During COVID, for some reason, did it was fascinated. I either have to hate a topic or love a topic to follow it, right? And I was fascinated by doula and doula work. And
Mhm.
so I followed and listened to podcasts by a couple of Canadian doulas. And then I started reading up on the care of mothers. In fact, the quote in my book I thought that I started out with is doulas stand in the doorway of life with their main focus on mothering the mother.
Mhm.
And I liked that and I was attracted to it. So that led me to a very deep dive on infertility, IVF, movie stars asking surrogates to have their children.
Oh, yeah.
And then the topic that you may not hear very often, which is encapsulation of the fetal material.
Hmm.
So and how that works with the doula community, how they promote health benefits from that process.
And your main character in A Doula to Die For is a
There
doula.
are two. There are two. There's Vivian Rose. She's a doula,
Mhm.
and then there's Rex Redondo, her next door neighbor, and they're absolute opposites. They're both 60. They both moved to this gated community in Palm Desert, thinking they were going to. Well, Rex doesn't want to admit it, or he says he's retired, but he's not. And Viv has a second job with a small desert doula agency. So she has several women who meet at her house and have small groups, and they go swim in her pool and they gather as a community. And she also, in that agency, people call her, and so she assigns her doulas to different people with different needs, depending on their specialties. She's very logical. She's very, if you have a Myers-Briggs profile, INFJ, has a big J. She slices things up and figures things out, and you get the truth.
Yeah.
Rex is a mentalist at the local casino,
Yeah.
Paradise Casino, and most of my readers read the book at first and go, is he a stalker? I don't know if I trust him. Right. So that's the two. And he falls instantly in love with her despite his background of dating a lot younger women who are from Hollywood. Kind of he's just enamored with her immediately. And so paralleling that is his dog. He has a Bernedoodle named Kevin, and she has a cat named Miss Kitty. And Kevin is absolutely enamored with Miss Kitty. He's always looking over the fence and trying to get over to talk to her, and she's quite indifferent. So the two pets mirror the relationship between the two grown-ups, the midlife grown-ups.
Best. I love that. And it seems like Viv then is very much on top of things and is
Mhm.
nurturing and caring for people. And then Rex is maybe a little bit of a swindler.
Definitely, and definitely inventing stories all the time about things. And he claims, well, you know, this is a story, but there's truth in here somewhere, But she's like appalled that he can't tell a story straight two times in a row.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of the book, he steals her house key because he's a psychometrist. He holds things and gets vibrations from them, and he's so kind of infatuated with her, he takes it home with him. And so, this is not a trustworthy character in her opinion.
Yeah. So very much an odd couple pairing.
Definitely, there's a word for that in romance books, right? Opposites attract.
Opposites attract.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yep. But then how do they end up solving crime?
Yeah. Well, she comes home from a late night gig, birthing a baby, and he sees a dead body floating in her pool because he's got a second story house and he kind of occasionally looks over to watch her swimming in her swimming pool. And so he was watching and he happens to see a body floating over there. So he calls the cops. So she gets home and the place is just, lit up with police cars and all kinds of activity. And finally he comes over and they meet face to face. So, I mean, who would trust this guy? He called the cops, he's spying on her, and then he steals the key and
Yeah.
vanishes.
Well, I don't want to give the whole story away, but I think that's a good setup of you got these two
Yeah,
very much odd couple characters uh,
right.
meet under some not pleasant circumstances and then have to figure out what happened, right? So,
Right, right. And there are amateur sleuths, so he has a background. He was a military uh he worked in the Marine Corps. And he has a roommate who's like 20 years younger than him and really hot, and she's like his personal assistant.
mhm.
So and she lives in. So he and Sutton Greer were like worked in the military intel in Afghanistan. So that's his background. And most people think they're a couple, but of course they're not. They're
Yeah,
not a couple. They're just, yeah. So because they're neighbors, they become neighbors in crime. And Rex gets the idea the best way that he can, after they solve this crime, which they do, all my books, we solve the crime
yeah.
satisfactorily, like Agatha Christie, good triumphs over evil. But he decides the best way to stay close to her is that they need to start their own private investigative um, agency. And he's basically qualified.
Of course, like she has time for that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. When she's not birthing babies and helping out mothers.
Yeah, sounds like a hoot. So, going back to kind of more of your general writing stuff,
Okay, yeah.
what, I guess in this book or any of your books, was the hardest scene for you to write?
Oh, that's a great question. And no one's ever asked me that before. Action scenes are tricky,
Okay.
and I studied them.
Yeah.
I read books that had of action scenes that I really liked. I did research on what makes a good action scene. I went into several writing publications, and I every year I buy 2 to 3 craft books, that will help me improve my writing. And I set a goal every year. Okay, what am I going to improve this year? And in 2023, it was action scenes. So that's that was my work, and that was a challenge for me.
I can see how it's challenging because particularly the more people you add into a scene, you have to know like,
Yeah.
hey, what's this one doing and how does that affect this one? I remember once I was at a publishing kind of convention and they did an actual like fight scene on stage.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's great. It's so much easier to write it when you can see it. Have you ever considered like watching certain action scenes to be able to like write out?
I do. I watch a lot of Netflix and action, kind of like a lot more hardcore than I write. I don't.
Yeah.
Cosey's kind of, I don't watch Hallmark stuff at all, but and my books aren't Hallmark. But yeah, I do. I watch it, and we have a great Old Globe Theater here in San Diego, and they have spectacularly choreographed action scenes in their Shakespeare.
Mhm.
So we go every year, and that, you can really see how it unfolds. It's not quite as quick as a film,
Yeah.
and you can make note of that. Also, I found lately a lot of the like Harlan Coben and those people on television, they're filming in the dark. Have you found that? So I'm looking like
Oh,
this,
hard to see. Yeah, yeah,
and it's hard to see. But yeah, no, not Shakespeare, not at the Old Globe. You get some really good sword fight things. So I just didn't take off the swords and but the
yeah.
big thing with it is not stopping in the middle of your scene to describe things,
Yes.
like launch into this big dissertation about the color of their hair or whatever. I had to really edit all that out.
It has to be short and sweet.
Boom,
It's
boom, boom. Yeah, quick sentences. Right.
where I've seen right yeah, people like I kind of need to like act out or like do like the facial expressions when they're writing those things. But
Right.
one person, it's hard to act out. Well, if this person throws a punch, then what does that look like for someone standing behind them? Because, I can't stand behind myself and look at it. So,
Yeah. And are you in first person or third person or
uh,
whose person? Right.
I can see why that is provides a lot of challenges. It sounds like you have lots of ways of working through that, which is great. All right, here is another one for you. If you could have dinner with any cozy mystery author, live or dead, who would you pick?
Jacqueline Winspear. Are you familiar with her?
I'm not. Tell me a little bit about her.
She, yeah, she writes the Maisie Dobbs series. She just finished, I think, book 20, and she writes historical, cozy mysteries about her character. Maisie is, it's like, I'm trying to think, yeah, post World War One, part of World War Two in Britain. And I love her character. And whenever I read her blogs or things on Facebook, I'm thinking she would really be fun to have, coffee with or something. She's
Yeah,
very cool.
I like
Yeah,
that. I mean, I feel like pretty much all authors are also readers, right? So it's nice to be able to put on that hat sometimes.
definitely. And also, if you want to, like resurrect Agatha Christie, I wouldn't turn down a date with her.
I mean, who would? Who would?
That's right. She's just like the classic queen of. I've
Uh,
got my mug here, witness to the prosecution mug. You can't, of course, read it because
oh,
it's
sorry.
Zoom, but we saw that in London a couple years ago, and so it was a big deal.
I love that. That sounds amazing. I love theater. Um, so speaking of, I guess, other hobbies, do you have any creative hobbies, or I guess hobbies in general outside of your writing?
Um, wow. Lately, my hobby is integrating my spouse into his retirement. This has taken up 100% of my time when I'm not writing. He's a marriage and family therapist and a retired chaplain,
Okay.
over 23 years in the military. And I've been preparing him for 3 years for this retirement where he was going to stay out of my hair while I'm writing. So far, okay, it's working. We
Good.
meet at lunch and and then we go our separate ways. But that took a lot of planning. I'm a planner.
Yes.
So, and I wanted it to be really successful for him. And he keeps telling me it is. So, and we have a grandchild now. So we get to see her. She's kind of a hobby.
Congratulations
Um, Thank you. And my two dogs definitely are my hobby and inspiration. And I read all the time
all the time.
and watch film and theater. We went to LA this Christmas and saw a couple of great plays, and we go to New York a lot, once a year if we can.
Yeah. So what are you currently reading and what are you currently watching?
Let's see. We just finished Slow Horses. Are you familiar with that? Oh
I
my gosh,
someone
it was
recommended it too. I haven't
great.
started it yet.
Yeah, it's
You've heard
very tense, but
of it.
really good. We saw season, I think it was one and two, maybe not three. I don't know. I gave up on Virgin River. I just got tired of their circular storylines that didn't seem to go anywhere.
Mhm.
Let's see. I watched Will Trent. There's a new season of that coming up. And All Creatures Great and Small has a new season, which is as cozy as cozy gets in a war, you know,
Yeah.
World War II. So that's what I'm watching and reading. I'm Elizabeth George. I read her. Can't remember the name of the book because I read most of her novels or her mysteries. And Leanne Moriarty, she writes stuff and Reese Witherspoon produces it on Netflix, I believe, or Apple TV. And she wrote a book about a woman who predicts everyone's death in an airplane.
Okay.
Okay, and she weaves things really well. I respect that, but I read for the story, and I also read for the writing. If writers do that, well, how does she make this book so great?
Hmm.
So it's a different way of reading.
One of those elements.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I just finished I think A Man on the Inside on Netflix.
yeah. What do you think?
That was great. I think particularly if you like cozy stuff because it does have that kind of feel to it. So that would be another one to check out.
That's Ted Danson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I saw the first one, I think.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. Next question I have is, can you give us a hint on what your next project is going to be?
Yes. So I have a book coming out, which is never the next project, right? That one was a project a year ago.
Yeah.
But the book coming out is book 7 in Lily Rock, Sit, Stay, Play Dead. And have you heard of Wolfstock?
Not beyond reading it in the description of the book.
Okay, so Wolfstock is happening in Lily Rock, and it's a festival with dogs where all these dogs are invited with their owners. And it's kind of like Woodstock, only with it's about the dogs.
Yeah.
But there's kind of an uppity new inn and dog park in Lily Rock, which only caters to AKC Frenchies, French bulldogs. So
Okay.
my fascination was with the French bulldog this time and how they exclude other breeds of dogs. And so Janice Jets, my cop who's taking over my series, um, gets a Frenchie as a gift from her boyfriend. And this guy has the nerve of insulting her Frenchie, who is named Tater Tot. And so Janice is convinced he's the killer. And that's where we start. So Olivia has to kind of save her from herself. So that project is coming out in the 28th.
Yeah.
And then I'm deep into research for a historical cozy.
Oh, that's a
I'm
fun.
very excited about it. Excuse me?
It'll be a nice departure from all your contemporary.
Yeah, that's my challenge this year is to write a historical cozy. I mean, I thought just, I admire Sarah Rosette's books and Jacqueline Winspear's books, and I won't give away anything else because if I talk too much, they don't get written.
Okay.
Then I end up instead of actually doing the discipline it takes to
Yeah.
type. So
I was gonna
I'm
ask
just this
if
short.
we had
Yeah,
a certain setting, like is it set in Lily Rock, but in the past? But I won't
right,
ask anymore. We'll just
right.
have to wait and see.
Zip it up. But I should have, if my scheduling goes as planned, if Vivian Rose were in charge of it, she'd say I will be on time and that I'll have that out hopefully in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. I just wrote chapter 1 today.
Oh, congratulations. I love it. Starting a new
Thank you.
book. It's probably a mix, right, of like excitement and terror.
That's my feelings. Yeah. Because you're never sure. I got to the point I had researched up to here, and I knew
Yeah.
I just had to start writing or I'd just kill
Or
it
you
with too
will.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was so great to catch up and talk a little bit about all of your books. Um,
Thank you.
And for anyone that's listening to this, if it's still January 2025, you can go ahead to cozymysterybookclub.com and get A Doula to Die For. If it's past then you can still go buy it on any of the retailers. And thank you so much, Bonnie, for chatting with me today.
And Kate, before we say goodbye, I just want to give a shout out to the Cozy Mystery Book Club. It's my
Mhm.
4th year. You invited me, you and Sarah, but you especially invited me the first time. If you want a chance to read other genres, other cozies, other mysteries, and just take a chance, it's the perfect opportunity for a free book to really get into some other worlds and some other writers' heads. And I just can't say enough how great I think it is.
Thank you. I love it too.
Thanks for inviting me too. And you guys are just the best for sponsoring all of that.
Thank you so much. And yeah,
Thanks for the interview. Uh-huh. Bye.
bye.